Teresa, we are now live streaming again. This is the afternoon, the continuation of our afternoon meeting of House Appropriations. And we are continuing with committee discussion, and we've done a lot of work on language, and I'd like to spend just, a bit of time on this web report so that we can make any needed adjustments and get this bill closer to being completed.
Hey, Kitty, can I ask for just a sec?
Yep.
The committee, did you all get something I emailed you just a minute ago about the outright? Yeah, okay. It's not in my email box. I don't know why, but okay.
You sent us some language, Chip, I think, right?
I sent you the payment, the funding history for outright that I had, and I just wanted to make sure everybody got it because it didn't show up in my inbox. But I saw nodding of heads, so we're fine.
Okay. Yep, I see it. I see the history. It started out as a grant in 2014, and then as the grant goes away, we learn what happens.
Yeah, I'm sure Mary will get a perhaps more updated view, but.
And so I know this is really tedious work, and I'm sorry to put any of you through this, but instead of me doing what I'm doing, going through quickly, does anyone have a section that they are ready to close out? Because I think we've closed out most of them. And I know that the commerce ones are open, and I think that we can address those. Sergeant at Arms is still open due to, page 9 is open due to body cameras and the additional officer. And that additional officer, that's going to come at an expense that why we.
Yeah, they're not asking for it right now. We were just questioning whether or not, given the fact that we don't know where we're going to be in January, we're just going to need to understand that there might possibly be some flexibility around that. But government ops was going to weigh in on that.
Okay.
That funding is no longer in there, and we would have to break it in.
Right.
But the body cameras funding is in there, and that's 21,000. So if we decide to not go forward with that, that 21,000 goes to the bottom line.
Okay, thank you, Diane.
You're welcome.
Maida, do you have a question? Your hand is up. You're muted, Maida. Maida, you're muted.
Sorry. I was just going to make mention of the Criminal Justice Training Council is still, we haven't circled back around to them yet.
And you're ready to get there. Well, I'm on page 16 right now. It's the next page that open, Maida, and those are yours. The 2 state police and the clinicians, I believe, are in. There's some expenses within those, and so we need to wait, right, to do.
Yeah. Yes, we need to wait. We had for a time closed that section, and then we shelved it rather. Then we took it back off the shelf till we get this business about the mental health clinicians settled up.
Okay, which brings us then to page 20, Maida, which is yours, the Criminal Justice Training Council. And I know that there is, that this is just a really difficult budget. And I need a recommendation from you.
Yes. So I've sent plenty of information to the committee over the past couple of weeks, trying to give everybody the overview of their situation at the training council.
Which is a dire one.
Yes, it's dire. They have been for, as far as I know, years now living close to the bone, and now they're at the bone. I would want to point out to you in the web report that the administration has built in there $13,000 in funding from the from the COVID relief fund. And I clarified with the folks who deal with the finances here that if we move forward with the budget as written here, that would be approving, because I asked when was this money approved? They're looking for us to approve it through the appropriations process. So that's as one piece of aside information here. I have racked my brain trying to figure what can we possibly do for these folks since we don't have any money. The only thing I could come up with, which requires money, is that we could, while leaving the 5% cut for the ISF in place, we could restore their 3% the things that involve the 3% reduction, which is a total of 79,391. That's something we could do if we had anywhere to find $79,391. Other than that, I have nothing that I can figure out other than to shelve it as is.
The 79,000 will bump against up all of our other priorities, and if
Exactly.
want to put it
Yeah.
there to, you know, to bump up against those priorities, you can do that. But I
But
mean,
there-
I'm eating up every piece of the
Right.
budget at this point.
I understand. That's why I'm loath to do it and haven't done it previously.
So
Let me
we need to-
say that, can we put on a list? I mean, I feel as if it's kicking the can down the road. I don't think there's a prayer that we can find $79,391 anywhere, but those were the things listed as the takeaways, you know, the reductions in their detailed report.
So
Apart from 37,000, that was their ISF reduction, excuse me.
So what I would like to do, Maida, you know, if you have the 79,000 and we will, you know, we're going to have to weigh it against the grant writer, micro businesses, IDA, mental health clinicians, justice reinvestment, the
Yeah.
child care. So we can weigh it against all of those. But like with other sections, I think we shelf it, and if we can come there and it rises to the top of priorities, then we'll come back to it.
Okay, so I guess I would, on behalf of these people who are just so struggling, if I can, I guess I would like to put it 79,391 on the list, if only so it can live for yet a different kind of discussion. And that's that's what was used for reduction,
Okay.
apart from the ISF. That I'm not getting into.
Okay. Thank you, Maida.
Yeah,
Kimberly,
thank you.
The next section we have open are all the liquor and lottery pieces. Can we move to page 25 of 73 in the web report and walk through some of the liquor and lottery pieces?
Yeah.
Did not accept the new language to expand liquor and lottery, and they did not reflect any additional amounts in these budgets, I believe. Maria, that's accurate, right? That there was no monetary increase in any of these areas based on the language.
That's right. I know that back in March, there was a change to the amount that were put into the general fund, but I don't believe that's changed since then. I will check on that. I've got to compare the two bills. Let's see.
So I'm looking at an email that I just got in clarifying about the restatement budget. And the original governor's recommend had some key changes. I don't know if you all remember discussing them last go round. It had to do with some of the IT. There was a point of sale support system that wasn't up. There was a new licensing system. There were some staff and operating increases. But basically, because all of those divisions are self-funded and all the profits are, you know, transferred out, there's not a whole lot of changes. If I go through the web report and I do the January comparison on B320s at the bottom of page 28 of my web report of the restatement, if I look at B, for example, 236.1, that is exactly the same number as in January. And so I would recommend that we shelve that. If I go in at B 236.2, that's a difference of approximately 5,000, and that's large. That's basically that internal service fund change. There's in B 237, there's a change again of about $5,000, and B 238, it's less than $5,000. And in B 239, it's approximately $5,500. So all of those changes are pretty perfunctory. I mean, none of them, of course, are general funds because it's this enterprise construct. The one issue that I recall, and Maria, feel free to jump in if I'm getting any of this incorrect. The one thing that we were watching when we were having our go round in January, there was that problem gambling grant. And I did check in about that because there was an up in January of 150,000 to add to that. And that would have totaled 250,000. And I'm told that because of COVID, that way you recall it was going to, I want to say it is the, I want to say it was either the Howard Center, I think it was the Howard Center. And anyhow, that has been delayed slightly because of COVID, but they are on track to get back to that. It's not like it has fallen off for lack of interest. It's just simply delayed like so many other things are delayed.
Questions for Kimberly on any of the lottery pieces? On any of the sections? We had closed them out in March. She talked about the problem gambling delay. The numbers, the reflection just shows the ISF reductions. There's no general fund here. Kimberly, do you have a recommendation for those?
Yes, I would recommend that we go ahead and we shelve those. And just one more clarification that I was stumbling over the other day is there was that back and forth, if you recall, about international, and there was no testimony. And I did circle back with Liquor and Lottery, and I just said, can you please tell me really what was this reference to international from your point of view? And the response I got back that was essentially allowing us to remain in Powerball if, the keyword if, it expands to include international markets. So that was in the land of what if, and that is why also that there was this sort of blank response from the policy committee because there has not yet been testimony. And I don't mean to tack back to the language, but since we're on the topic, that was just the final circle on that particular query.
But that's not open in the language.
No, it's not. But I'm just
Okay, thank you.
for what it's worth, thought I'd share that.
Thank you. No, we needed that clarification. I appreciate you tracking it down. Okay, thank you, Kimberly. Let's go to page 27 of 73. We left the global commitment mixing bowl open. That is just going to get, that just gets resolved at the end of all of our decisions. And so I'm not sure why we left that open. Dave, did you have a question about the mixing bowl? Because that number gets trued up after every decision
Nope.
is completed.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I do not have a question. I'm pretty conversant with it. It's the kind of thing I don't even know whether to cover on the floor, but I can go deep and make people's eyes glaze over. Anyways.
That's
forgive
always
me.
a good
You know?
that's a good tactic.
I recommend we close it.
Okay, and then we'll just make sure
And then
we
the
will
next
hear that the number's updated. And then the next one, Dave, is yours. You
Yes.
want to keep open 306 for Diva. And I didn't write down in any notes we're keeping open. Do you have questions still on the
Yeah,
Diva?
I can. No, I don't. Let me just, the Diva admin, you know, in FY20, it was 176 million, and they're down to 161 million. That's a
Yeah.
good thing, you know, for those members who, you know, sometimes people feel we spend too much on admin. There's the general fund is up slightly. It's nothing really significant though, but what's at play in the admin budget are a lot of contracts. You know, they had hoped to have the premium billing done by the carriers. Didn't happen. It's going to happen later. There was some savings booked for that. So that was a cost. There's some other contracts and things they were hoping ADS was going to be able to take over some of their reporting on their MMIS, their Medicaid Management Information System. It didn't happen. It may happen eventually. But there's no, you know, they're not adding people per se. It's kind of a steady state. So I would recommend we close 306, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Dave? If you disagree, could I hear a no?
I have a list of all their contracts.
Okay, I think if you agree, could I have a sign that either a yes or a shake your head or, okay, and anybody who disagrees, I need a verbal no, please. Okay, Dave, and then you had another section open, 307. It's the global commitment piece, the Medicaid program.
Yes. Yep. So we're FY20, we were at 726 million. When the first budget, we thought we'd go down to a 711 million. We're back up to 727, a little bit over where we were in FY20. And really the no providers are being reduced. It's all around consensus forecast on utilization creeping up and caseload creeping up. And I guess I would call that COVID related. And of course, we can't use COVID funds there because this is way past December 31st, that type of thing.
Well,
So
however, they did increase our
Go
FMAP,
ahead.
Dave. So they did increase our FMAP rate. So in a way,
yes,
you know, to address the COVID issues, we did get a good bump in FMAP.
this is true. Yep, 6.2% in 3 areas of the budget. So the program utilization of people getting healthcare, it's a steady state other than an increase in enrollment of 2%. Hasn't gone crazy, but it is up a little bit. I recommend closing it.
Any questions for Dave? If you agree, could I have a hands up? And if you're opposed, a verbal no. Thank you, Dave. And then you did have, you kept open the Medicaid state-only program.
Yes, that was 53 million, going down to 51 million. And in the state-only program, hold on, I have a little email here that my little cliff notes on it. There's no real policy changes going on here. That's really cost sharing assistance that we do for people that are on the qualified health care plans in the Vermont Health Connect exchange. And there's more COVID FMAP increase money here to offset it. So there's no real change here. It's down $3 million, which is a good thing. I recommend we close that.
Any questions on 309 for Dave? If not, those that agree, a quick hand up, and those opposed, a no, a verbal no. Okay, Dave, we've shelved that one. And then the next one was we kept open as well, 310, the Medicaid non-waiver match.
That's for our DISH program, our disproportionate share hospital program, and the children's health insurance program. There's no policy changes here, and it's running almost consistent with the last FY20 of 33 million. We're coming in again a little below at 33 million. And the general fund is pretty much the same also. There's no policy changes there. I recommend we close that also.
Any question on the Medicaid non-waiver match? Okay, and thumbs up if you agree, or verbal yes or something. If you're opposed, could I hear a no, please? Dave, thank you for those sections. The next section, starting on 31, Kimberly, you have several that go through, and I think until we get the memo, is there anything on pages 31 through 35 that you can address?
Please, Kitty, please use section numbers because I've got 81 pages worth of
Oh, okay,
of
yours
this.
is
You've got
different.
73.
Yep,
So
it starts on B316 and goes through B3, 328. And those are all, we've closed out some of those, Kimberly, that you closed out, but I think all the rest have to do with childcare or with Woodside.
That is correct. And the only other thing, there's a reach up piece in there that I just also want to confirm, but you're right. We've shelved that that we could. And I really have hopes tomorrow that my time in human services will help move this section
Okay.
forward.
And the reach up is still open as well.
Correct. Yeah.
Can I, Kitty and everybody, can I ask, because I don't have it checked, can we skip the mental health 314? Is that done?
Yes, I have.
Mary, she closed it.
Okay.
Mary's still working on the clinicians, but as far as all the pieces, we are done with mental health. Is that correct, Mary? I have it checked off.
Yes, that is correct. And I just had an interesting conversation with the folks from Outright that, let's take that up some other time.
Okay.
Kimberly, I don't have 323 marked.
That was a teaser.
323, Linda, is still
open.
open. That is
Still open?
reach up. Yeah.
So
And
the
then I have 25, 26, 27, and 28 open also.
Oh, 25 is, well,
Who will be the official word? I don't want us all to talk over each other.
25 is open, 26 is closed, 27 is open, 28 is closed, and 29 is closed.
Okay,
So,
thank
And
you.
30 and 31 and 32 are all shelved. So the next one that I have open is the out-of-state beds, Mary, and I believe we're holding those open until we make the decision on the 360 for reinvesting savings into the system.
That's correct. The recommendation from House Corrections and Institutions, I believe, is going to be that oh, you know what? I'm supposed to be with them right now. No, maybe that's tomorrow afternoon. Sorry, I don't know where I am. I believe they're going to say that we should reinvest that money. And the question is that, that keeps it from dropping to the bottom line. And so that's adding an expense there that needs to be solved. That's the 360.
Okay. And then the next section that's open is 344.
Yeah.
That was yours, the RSVP program?
Yes, and I finally found somebody who is responsible for this program, and they're perfectly fine with the numbers here.
Okay, so Linda do you have questions, or if you agree, could I see a
what
affirmative?
number? I'm sorry, what number?
344.
344.
RSVP.
And can I just add who is the new person in responsible for this? And that's Daniel Noyes, our very own representative, Daniel Noyes.
At least it's someone easy to find now. So if you agree, I think a thumbs up. If you don't, a verbal no. Thank you. And that finishes out that section. Mary, you gave a new number for workers that projects change. And
Yeah. You never trust my memory. I have to look it up.
400.
I have it,
Oh, it's
49,867. 49,867.
Number I had. Okay. So I have everything closed or shelved until we get to.
Did we do Green Mountain Care Board? I'm sorry, I might have missed it if we did it much earlier.
Where is it, Diane?
Oh, 345.
You have it open?
I did, but I feel like we closed it, but I wasn't sure.
I thought you closed it.
It's
Okay.
closed. Yeah, it's
Okay.
shelved.
I just didn't check it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next one I have open is the State Board of Education. And Chip, do you want to just remind the committee, we have $24,000 that was reduced here that they don't agree with?
Yeah, so actually they're coming into the Ed committee tomorrow to talk. I'm hoping to go be there for that. Y'all probably just remember that they decided not to continue membership in an organization whose name I actually asked for and I still don't have. But in any case, they expected that they would just keep the money that they were paying in dues to help run the board. The agency decided to cut that money, and so and they're very unhappy. They suggested that they aren't able to carry out their mission if they get that big a cut. So that's on our list, and I'm hoping to hear more tomorrow. And I've asked that the Committee of Ed to give us a recommendation clearly in their memo what they think about it as well.
Thank you, Chip. We'll leave that one until we get that memo. The next one is 702 and 705. 705 is open because we have on our list of requests $71,000 for Forest Parks and Rec within the state parks to take care of maintenance and the interpreters, and there was one other thing, maintenance.
The seasonal workers
Oh,
coming in the
yeah.
spring.
Yeah.
702, Maida, why did we leave?
Yeah.
Fish and
What is
Wildlife?
702?
Bob was not here. Bob, you weren't here for Fish and Wildlife, and I believe that one's yours. And you're seeing the normal changes of the 3% general fund and the 5% with the internal service fund reductions. But I don't see any other reductions beyond that. Did you have a recommendation or have a chance to look in Fish and Wildlife? It's 702, Bob.
You're muted, Bob.
You're muted, Bob.
I'm sorry. They are okay with that. They don't love the idea, but I mean, they understand it, and you know, they're okay. And so I recommend we pass it.
Any questions for Bob? If you,
It's actually up a little bit, not as much as everybody wanted, but it's up. And so, you know, they're doing all right.
any questions for Bob? If not, if you agree, could I have a?
Can I just stop and note that Bob wanted us to spend more money here? I just
No.
want to be clear. He's at,
No, that's in the state parks. Mary, that's in the state parks.
I'm just trying to razz Bob
Oh,
for
You're
being
welcome.
one of those tax and spend liberals.
Yeah. Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome, anytime.
I'm looking at the two totals, 26109. So it is down a little bit over Bob there. It's down a little bit, 260, and before it was 26109. So they've lost about 40,000, you know, with those two pieces. Okay, so those opposed, I stopped in the middle of a vote. Okay, we'll shelf that
Kitty,
one.
before we move on, I don't have 701 marked.
I have that one as shelved.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. There was a decrease in pilot, and they're just not going to acquire properties. I think Marty talked about that one.
Mhm.
105 is still open. We're considering those three areas, the park interpreters, the maintenance, and the seasonal staff. And have you heard, I just have to understand with COVID, with seasonal staff, is if there's still a need there, and how much of the maintenance were we able to
Yeah.
cover that with COVID?
This is the COVID covered sanitation type things mostly, and public health kind of issues writ large. What's left for the seasonals, well, that wasn't the seasonal folks weren't covered at all because they came on late. The parks weren't open. This is talking about into the spring. And with regard to the maintenance, that's for hazardous trees. As the commissioner said when he was with the Ag Committee, they're trying to, they hope to make sure that no trees fall down on people's tents and things. That's what this would go for, the little bit.
That's always important, that trees come down
Well,
on.
that
Yes.
would be nice.
Yeah, welcome to our parks, Black.
Marty, you're up next with B711 DEC, the water programs.
Yeah, this is one section of DEC I had wanted to stay open till I did a little bit more work on it. I'm content with it now. My concern originally had been a lot of vacancy savings, but it's 12 folks out of 300, so that seemed to make sense. I was also concerned that they were relying more on this the state revolving fund, the administrative portion of the state revolving fund for drinking water to help cover some payroll costs, but they have done a redone an analysis of how that is, and they believe, out until FY30, they're fine in using some of those funds because it's a revolving fund. Loans go out, but loans come back in, and it helps revolve that fund. So they are allowed to use, some of that for administration. And the only other issue, because they're trying to use that fund more because they expect to have $1 million less in permit fees this particular year, just because people are not doing projects or DEC can't get out and look at some of these items. So they are having a decrease in permit fees. And most of their budget is special funds of some kind. It's certainly not general funds. But nevertheless, I have looked at those items and I feel comfortable with closing out this 711, which is the water programs part of DEC.
Did the Committee of Jurisdiction happen to weigh in on that section, Marty?
There was a general discussion on that of the budget as well as those language items when Peter Walk was in there. And they did not, again, seem to be too terribly concerned about the basic budget issues. They were more concerned about some of those language issues.
Thank you, Marty.
They understood the concern with less permit fees that they're going to have to manage somehow. So that was not a concern.
Right. So it's really not a cut. It's decreased due to the funding source coming in. It's aligning the dollars to.
Well, not in the Clean Water Fund. It definitely is. The Clean Water Fund is different. And indeed, it's not as bad as we had originally thought. They had expected this year, they had an FY21 expected revenue from the various sources, the clean water surcharge, the sheets, the meals in the rooms, to be 20 million. And then they were going to give out 20 million. Last April, May, they were telling us they thought they would only bring in 14 million. And that's why we made some changes. Now it looks like they will bring in about 17 million instead of the 20. So they are decreasing grants going out from that particular fund, but that's not only DEC, it's agriculture and transportation as well. But it is aligning with the revenue that's coming in, with those
Actually
specific streams coming in.
Which is better than we thought in March.
It's better than we had thought. Right. But their regular budget is decreased, and part of their revenue on their regular budget does come from permits, and the permit fees will be down this year.
So Marty's,
but they are working around that.
And your recommendation is to shelve this?
Is to shelve it as it is. Mm-hmm.
Any questions for Marty on 711? If not, if you agree, I have a hands up. And if you're opposed, a verbal no, so I'm aware. Okay, the next part, we're going to the Commerce and Community Development. Did you find that email, Linda? Was it in your junk legislative email?
Oh, what was it about?
It was from Charlie, it was from Mike about all these sections.
Oh, yeah, I had that. We talked about that earlier today.
Yeah, but we didn't talk about the Vermont Center for Rural Studies, which was eliminated in BO8.
Uh,
I'm looking for it in here. So in the first one on section BO8, if we go there, it had the regular 5% and 3% reductions, but it finally eliminated the grant to UVM. Peter was going to contact UVM and they have weighed in on their 1038 memo on that first 50,000, Linda. Do you have that?
no, where are you?
I'm looking at an email and I'm going to send it to you again from Mike Marcotte. It says, "Hi, Linda, just a note going over what our committees discussed." And
Yeah,
then
I have that printed out, but I'm not sure.
so the
Say-
first one, the 500, the 50,000 is related to 800. He didn't put in the section numbers. I told committees they could be pretty informal.
No, just send it to me and I'll take a look at it again. I just heard from him and I'm trying, he's just sent me an email about something else. So if you will
Linda,
send that
which
to
one
me-
do you want me to send it to? The Comcast?
Yes, please.
Okay, I just sent it to you.
Okay.
Peter, did you ever hear back from UVM on that piece?
Yes. So I was just looking it up again here, and it won't populate. And dollars would impact their ability to assist with the census. She wasn't specific as far as how it would impact, but she did say it could have a real impact in their ability to assist with statistical analysis. So, and she didn't have a recommendation, but she sent that along. I then forwarded that email to Marcotte, and Mike had sent me something saying, "Is this 50,000 something that we can help with?" And so I then forwarded the message from UVM to Mike saying, "Yes, if you could, that would be great." Mike sent back, "Very helpful, thank you."
So I think what the Commerce Committee is hoping to do is find reductions in other areas to,
Do that 50,000?
yeah, do you want to read that, what they recommend?
Yeah, I had received it. I didn't realize that's what I was looking at, but he said we recommend funding it, but he doesn't say where the money's coming from.
So they are recommending that we do not eliminate that 50,000 from the Vermont Center for Rural Studies. And Peter just explained the impact on the data collection from the census. Peter, you were going in and out and I was only catching pieces of it.
Sorry, yes, it is data analysis for census, and it could not, she did not say it will, but it could impact the census work.
So then let's just go through all their budgets first and then we can make some decisions. Economic development, I don't see anything on this one, Linda. There has 5% and 3%, and so I think 801 they agree with.
Right, they did.
So would you recommend we shelf 801, Linda?
Yeah, we've already been through these. I have all of mine shelved, but that's fine.
I don't have them shelved.
Okay, we did it. We ended at the 700s and then came back the next day early in the morning and did the 800s, which is
Okay.
But anyway, I have 800, 801, 806, 809, 810, 11, and 12. There are two of there in this list that's not mine.
Yep, I have all of those shelved, except the only ones I didn't have were the one from Mike Marcotte's committee. So in 806, they still agree from March, and Linda, I think it's in this memo, they still agree in March to remove the funding for the Bike Mountain Association.
Yes. Right. And I've been through this with him a couple of times, and with him and with the agency, because the agency wants it and the committee doesn't want it. And so It's our decision, and we go with the committee, I would think, so that we don't fund it. He said it several times in messages to me.
What's the total, Maria, of the Bikers Association grant and the convention center?
Okay, the bikers is 26,888, and the convention bureau is 95,000.
Yeah.
So it's like 121,888.
95,000. 121,888.
Yeah,
And
that's
That's two. That's the bikers and the convention center.
right.
And I believe that part of that was that they felt that CRF money could be made available. Is that correct to the Mountain Bikers Association, that they could apply for?
Well, now, what Mike, in a note Mike wrote to me, which I have right in front of me right now, he says, the committee believes they should stand on their own and not be relying on state-funded money.
Okay, and not on the general fund?
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that we made decisions back in March on these to agree with the committee of jurisdiction back in March. The one thing that is new is the $50,000 from the Vermont rural studies. And I think that what Mike's committee was hoping to do is that to offset one reduction with the other, but that is up to our committee to decide to do, or if we put the rural studies on a list to consider if more money comes in. So are we going to agree? I guess it's different. It's not adding. Are we going to agree with, well, no, the others have been things that have been taken off as well. So what do we want to do with the Vermont Center for Rural Studies? What do committees, do we work within this budget, or do we put it on the list with all the other pieces to consider later? Diane?
Oh, I would like to see it put on the list for consideration later. I know that the grant, we may not be able to go there, but the 50,000 would at least just keep them going, because they're currently, it would be zeroed out to nothing. And in the past, they've had as much as 150, I understand. So I would like to see if we can continue to keep working to see if it's possible.
To keep it in the money.
Yeah.
So I have it on the list to be considered, and we will drop the 120, the 121, 888 to the bottom line, and we will put the Vermont Center for Rural Studies on our list to consider when we start making our priorities. Then Linda, the last thing, we support the recommended changes by ACCD to the proposed budget, which was listed to, along with your committee last Tuesday. Okay. Those were the list that we went over, and
right.
So we are leaving 800 open for Vermont Rural Studies if we can find 50,000. We closed 801, and tourism and marketing. Linda will take those reductions, and do you suggest we close it?
I'm sorry.
May I?
Dave?
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't raise my hand. We spoke about this, I think it was last week. Apologize for being redundant. In March, when I made the decisions around the events planning, 95,000, things are vastly different today than, and our hospitality industry is hemorrhaging. I have reservations about reducing that. I may be alone, and that's okay, but I thought if this is the place to put it on the table, I wanted to mention it.
And so if it's back on the table, then nothing is closed. We'll put it back there for the convention center. Is that the one you want to put back on the table, Dave?
Yeah, yes, please.
Okay.
I for the biking, I believe the biking people help bring money to Vermont, and we all benefit from the work they do. And to just say, well, they can up their fees, I'll let somebody else carry the water on that one if it's important. So I'll just stick with the event right now. Thank you.
Marty?
I think my hand was up from something else, sorry.
Oh, okay. I don't see, Mary, your hand is up now.
Are you looking for a conversation on do we or don't we, or are we just putting this to the side?
Oh, no,
For the
we're
time
deciding, we're deciding on this today because we have the committee
Okay.
recommendation and we're making a decision.
I appreciate, and I guess I'll have to reflect on the point that life has changed significantly since before and now. I would note that the funding for the convention center, and I think we're using that term loosely, is for a Burlington organization. It's not money that goes around the state. It is focused specifically on one organization there. And I have for a while had a concern about the designated allocation of funding in the budget for specific nonprofit, no, for specific private organizations rather than state government. If they wanted to put these, if there were needs that needed to be met and they needed to give grants, that's one thing. But this is a line item allocation for those two organizations, the bikers and the convention center. And I've just always been uncomfortable with that. Let folks compete for meeting a need that the state has rather than specifically allocating it.
Linda, thank you, Mary. Linda?
Yeah, I agree with Mary about the Convention Bureau, okay, because it is in Chittenden County, it is what they do. I've been friends with the president, the chair for many, many years, and I understand that, but I don't see the need for that. However, for the bikers, I actually do see the need for the bikers, only because with all of this stuff that we can't do nowadays, I would think that we should encourage getting people outdoors and doing those kind of outdoor activities. So the $29,000 for the bikers, I agree with that one. So
We'll take a vote on each one of those separately. Chip?
Yeah, so Mary made a good cogent argument about the convention center, and I would agree with those points too. I also would say on both of these that, you know, as much as it makes sort of intuitive sense to me, particularly around the biking stuff, that the biking group, that they, you know, that's an organization that potentially brings more money to the state. I just have to say, I really trust the Commerce Committee to have thought that stuff through, to have really made a determination about what's the best policy in these particular instances. And as Mary points out, these are sort of designated line items in our budget about giving money to specific organizations. I just have to go with the committee's decisions about having talked this through, really thought about it, and told us what they think the right thing to do is. I would reiterate what I said before, that in talks with Charlie Kimball, who is a big biker himself, you know, the committee really just feels like this organization, like all the others that bring people to the state, that provide, you know, a group of around a particular kind of activity that I think we would all support, you know, gets people outdoors, as just been said, good exercise and all that. But you know, they are an organization who could support themselves through dues, and the committee's thinking is that they should, the state should not be supporting them. So for those reasons, I'm going to stick with the committee on both of these.
And Maida?
Thanks. I appreciate everybody's comments. I've been on the receiving end of particular communications as it relates to the Mountain Bikers Association, and I've been given to understand that they do a serious amount of education around around the mountain biking as a recreational activity. They do trail maintenance, that sort of thing. The fact that both this and the Lake Champlain Area Convention Center are specific entities, well, goodness. And one of them does have Vermont as the first piece of their name, the Vermont Mountain Bikers Association. We don't have this same kind of conversation around, and I'm glad we don't, around the Vermont Symphony. It's an organization, a specific organization, or the Vermont Historical Society. It's a specific organization. Both of these do considerable fundraising. There are those of us that are members and pay our dues to some of these organizations. I'm just wanting to say that I'm really glad that we give even small amounts of support to entities like that. So we do support entities that aren't part of state government. I just want to put in another little plug there, particularly for the Vermont Mountain Bikers Association. It's not just that they're looking for quote unquote a handout. They, as I understand it, in my talk with the folks who have contacted me. That's all.
Thank you, Maida. Thank you. I have Representative Helm and Iacoboni, and then we're going to take a vote unless somebody has more that they'd like to add. Bob?
All I'd like to say then is you will support me when I suggest funding for Vermont Bear Hounds Association or the Vermont Trappers Association. Thank you, Maida. I'm done.
And Representative Iacoboni. Dave, your hand is up. I have a delay.
Yeah,
For some reason, it delayed.
I'm taken back by the trappers and hounds, but let me go on now. The Vermont Convention Bureau, yes, it's an organization. They don't get the money and keep it and have a good time. They are helping our hotel industry in a very competitive environment to sponsor events and conventions, which brings in a lot of tax revenue for our state. The best thing any state can do in this climate for travel and tourism is to do a good job with the COVID, as we have done. But as things begin to break and other states around us, and as we move out of this, start making great offers to attract business, if we don't have the infrastructure necessary to help us compete in the convention business, we just will all suffer because of that. And I don't think we have a lot of infrastructure. Chip makes a great point in that, well, the committee discussed this. I didn't listen to them, so I don't know, and it's an assumption to what the degree they went into it. But I'm just left with some common sense that tells me I don't want to damage our infrastructure in a key industry in Vermont in a very competitive field. And when we come out of this, there'll be only so many people able to go to conventions. And if we're not there front and center, I feel we'll be the ones that take the loss for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. So I'd like to do these one at a time. We'll do the Vermont Mountain Biker Association for 26,888 first. It's in the governor's recommend to keep it there. It's the Committee on Commerce, the House Committee on Commerce that would like to eliminate that funding. And so I'm going to take a vote. A yes vote would be to keep the governor's recommend. A no vote would be to support the Committee of Jurisdiction. Is that clear what you're voting on? Yes is to keep it, and a no is supporting the Committee of Jurisdiction to remove it. Those in favor, I need a hand up, please. I'd like a virtual, well, I guess I can count. A yes, if you would like to keep the governor's recommend of the 2688 for the bikers. Keep your hand up so I can see. I have 1, 2, 3. Marie, I keep seeing your hand. Okay, 3. And then those opposed, please raise your hand. Dave, were you a yes or a no? It came up late. You were, I need a verbal from you, Dave. Because your hand, you're delayed on my screen, and so I don't know if you hit the yes or the no.
I gotcha. I'm a yes.
Okay, so 4. And those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 4 to 6, and we are not going to fund the bikers this year. And now let's move to the Convention Bureau. We'll vote the same way. A yes vote is to keep it in the governor's recommend, and a no vote is to remove it as suggested by the Committee of Jurisdiction. So those of you that would like to keep the Convention Bureau dollars in, please raise your hand. It's 95,000. We need a hand up. 1, 2. Okay, let's put those hands down. And those that would like to remove that funding, would you please raise your hand? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 to 8. And so we are going to remove both of those fundings. And then Linda, the only other changes are the 5% and 3%. And so with those changes being made, Teresa, you have those, Maria, you have those changes for the budget, right?
Those ones that you just voted on?
Yes.
Yes, I do. I'm a little unclear still on the $50,000 that you discussed earlier, but we'll wait till you take that up for the.
The $50,000 is just on the list to be considered against
Perfect.
everything else.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So then the other is just the 3% and 5%. So now what would you like to do with tourism and marketing? Are we ready to close that, or do you have any additional changes?
Sorry, I was like, what is the 3% and 5%? And you just mean the standard.
3 and 5%, you know.
Yeah, the standard 3% and 5%.
I'm getting punchy.
Yeah. I don't have any more changes on that. Everybody's okay with what the governor has recommended, and there's crosswalk indicates that. So yeah, that's 806 is okay.
Any final questions for Linda on tourism and marketing? If not, if you agree to close it as we decided, raise your hand. Okay, and if you're opposed, please say no. And I do realize we didn't close out 802 housing and community development. Dave, is that your budget, 802
Yes.
housing and community development? And I believe that those changes.
Yes, it is.
In 802 are the 5%. And
That's correct, Kitty.
so in January, it was 19,309,220. Is that correct? So we're seeing about a 7.
Well, I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm sorry. I had 19,131 here. And in January, yes, that's right. I had the percentage down. I thought it was either 3 or 5%. Hold on. Let me just see if I got it here. The reductions here, Katie, are no more than what everybody else is doing. It isn't,
so,
there isn't a dramatic policy made. I would recommend we close it.
okay, and any questions, Dave, on that? If not, if you agree to close it, raise your hand. And a verbal no if you don't agree. Bob, we had left section 808 open for you, the Vermont Council on the Arts, and I think the only changes here are the 5% and 3%. I don't know if you heard from them. 8. I'm trying to do math at the same time. There's a $15,800 difference in their budget. Bob, that's yours. You're on mute.
I thought we closed this. Wait,
No, we didn't.
I don't have
I
it.
got it closed too.
You and Bob must be doing your own things privately.
Yeah, well, you know.
We won't go there. Whoops,
I
sorry,
can,
I'm still on.
I would be happy to make that phone call. I have not, I'm sorry.
Okay,
But
so
I
Bob,
swore we closed this, but if we didn't, we didn't. I'll call them up. What am I supposed to ask?
so it's just the 5% and 3. And so if you think it's closed, I think that we can shelf it if you're going to recommend it unless you come back to us with a change, if you hear something differently from the group. It's the standard 3 and 5 that we have been seeing across all entities.
Okay.
So Bob, are you good with shelving it unless you come back to us with something different?
Yes, I am. Yep. And I'll get a hold of them tomorrow sometime, somehow.
Okay, is the committee good with that? Is there a positive? And if not, I'd like to hear a no. Okay, so that brings us all the way through to debt service, which we completed. And then after that are the moving pieces of decisions made or pieces like B1100 we'll make when we hear from the policy committee on PEG TV. So those are the only pieces left open that are either in the budget that we haven't decided or with coronavirus relief money, CRF money. So I think that we are really, really close with our web report, Maria, aren't you, to get a lot of it done in advance?
Yes, we are close, very close.
What I would like to know, and it's after 4:30, so we are going to stop here. We need to know, first of all, we have things we have to pay for. Any new bills we have to pay for that get voted out. We can't pass a bill and not pay for it. And the other thing that we have to address are the Vermont State Colleges, because that is a commitment there. We now have a sheet with a couple more ongoing and one-time pressures on it. I will tally that up at some point, but I think it's a total. I don't know. I don't want to say what the total is. Outside of bills and outside of Vermont State Colleges, I would say that we have less than $2 million of unanswered questions that we have to decide upon. And that's just looking very, very quickly. I think it's less than $2 million or around $2 million. And what I would like you to do tonight, and have you guys been keeping track of the asks on a piece of paper so that you know where there's pressures that have been other members have asked for? Like Chip has put 162 for court diversion, which the Committee of Jurisdiction says is in dire need. We had 20,000 for the 19th Amendment. Do all of you have a list that you've been keeping? If
Oh,
not,
I keep lots of lists, Madam Chair.
we need to now narrow this list down and prioritize this list. That's what we really need to do. And some things may fall off depending on decisions made either, by other committees or by, if a bill doesn't move out of a committee, then, we don't have to pay for it. Marty? Did you have a hand up, Marty?
Yes, I did. And I think we all have different lists. Unfortunately, maybe it would be better if we agreed together what's legitimately on the list. So if you want us to think about them in priorities, we know what we're choosing from or what we're thinking
Excellent.
of.
Excellent idea. So it'll be an up or down vote and no discussion. Okay, because we've heard the discussion. Mary?
I just wanted to ask a question.
Yep.
We had identified funding for Outright Vermont, and I don't know if that's kind of on the micro business IDA grant writer list or the other list.
I'm combining them all into one list because it's a very very odd budget where our ongoing money and our one-time money is very confusing because so much of this budget is moving through on bridge money, not knowing where the economy is going to go. I mean, we just don't have those answers. And so, you know, I'm saying one ongoing for some things, but as somebody brought up before, we budget yearly, so everything's really a one-time budget. You know, we can take it off the list the next year if we want to. I'm just, if we put down our blue hands, and I'm going to go really slowly, and I need to hear verbal yeses and verbal nos on these. And this is not to keep them forever. This means we'll just consider them on a list. And if you don't believe they're one of our highest priorities, it's a no vote. If you feel it needs to be considered, if money is available after we pay for the colleges and other bills being like you know, a bill number H607 or something like that. This is only the things that we agree to consider. And then if I'm missing something, bring it to my attention. So if you want to keep court diversion for 162,000 on the list, I'd like to hear a yes.
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 If you're opposed, I want to hear a no.
No.
Sorry, my phone's ringing.
That is on the list. We have a majority to keep it on the list. 20,000 for the 19th Amendment. If you want to keep it on the list, I need a yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dave, I think you're delayed quite a bit here. And if you're opposed, I want to hear a no to take it off the list. I think we have a majority.
No.
No, but it's hard
No.
to do that as a man.
Okay, I've got to take a real vote on this one. We're going to do, Peter's not there for me because this is a close one and I don't know what it is. Peter, call an informal roll on the 19th Amendment, please.
Would you just have us do our hands, our blue hands?
Okay, a virtual hand. Can I see virtual hands then? If you
Virtual
trust
hands.
me, if you can't see the hands. If
So
19th Amendment, 20,000, give me a virtual blue hand.
If you're wanting it.
If you want it, put up a virtual blue hand if you want it. Okay, voting has
On
now,
the list.
voting has stopped. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that are yeses. And if you're a no, please put up your hand. Take those down.
Wait, well, you gotta take them down. Wait a minute. Doesn't wanna-
Everyone take down, everyone take them down. If you are a no on this one, raise your hand, your virtual blue hand. And I have a not voting anywhere. Okay, that one stays on for now. The next one is, take those hands down. The Chittenden Dam, $10,000 ask for the Chittenden Dam. If you would like it, can I see just a virtual, just put your real hand up, I think, unless you want to do virtual. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, put those down.
Oh.
7, okay?
We-
That's all right. If you want to take off the $10,000, can I see your hand now? Okay, that made the cut. The next one, I know this is going to take a long time.
It's okay.
Domestic violence, 75.5. That is that grant that we have to pay this amount towards, so we don't lose the full grant because our statute doesn't match the statute for the grant. And so that is 75,000 over 3 years. But in order to move the grant, we have to make a full commitment of the money. So,
Kitty,
yes, Chip.
that's 37,000, not 75,000, 37,500.
Oh, I'm messing. That's exactly what my numbers say. It's just what didn't come out of my mouth. 37,500, not 75. 37,500. If you
Just to be clear, we're not going to lose the grant if we don't put this in, but the grant is going to be reduced by this amount it seems inevitable because our legislature's not going to pass the requisite statute. So to make the grant whole, we would need this amount.
Thank you, Chip. I really did not characterize that correctly at all. So if you want to keep the 37.5 on the table.
What grants? What are these for, Chip?
Domestic violence grants.
Oh, okay.
Can I have a hand up if you want to keep it?
Yeah, let's keep.
2, 3, 4. Okay, that has a majority vote, so we're going to move on. Peter has worked on the recovery network, Peter, and you're working on CRF dollars, so that's off now, right?
I think that they'll be fine. Yes, CRF dollars. Also, they're they're putting in for the healthcare stabilization money as well.
Okay. The next one is the 300,000 for the long-term telecom plan. If you would like to keep that on for consideration, please raise your.
Can Marty, can someone say exactly what that is? Sorry.
Marty, do you want to do a quick?
We have legislation that requires there be a 10-year telecom plan to be prepared to give us guidance on how we are going to handle telecommunications over the next 10 years and beyond. The estimated cost for doing that, and the estimated cost is $800,000. We were able to get $500,000 in CRF money to do kind of like the emergency portions of it that could be handled between now and December, but they believe they need another 300 to complete it. The whole report will be another year away at least, I believe, but they need the funding now in order to get a consultant to start working on the remaining part of that. It's legislation that we passed requiring this plan. It didn't specify how much it was going to cost at the time, but nevertheless, it's legislation requiring that this plan be approved or be prepared and then eventually approved.
Okay, so if you agree with that, please raise your hand.
Okay.
Wait, you 1, 2, 3, 4.
Dave's like real slow.
I have 6. I have the first 6, and then we're going to stop. That's a majority. So that's on. The 21,000 for body cams is in the budget, so we don't have to vote on that, right, Diane?
Correct. It's in the budget.
Okay, so I can take that one off. That's good. And then the next one is the 71,000 for forest parks and recreation for the 3 maintenance and the seasonal employees. If you want to keep that on the table, please raise your hand for forest parks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 2, 4. I have 6, so it's staying on. The next one is for the Vermont Center, the Justice Training Council, the Center for, or the Justice Training Council made a put on for 79,000 to backfill their 3% general fund reduction.
How much again, huh?
79,000.
Okay.
You would like to keep that on the list for the Justice Training Council, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's on. We'll keep that on. Outright Vermont is the next one. And
I've got a question on that though, Kitty.
is it 40 or 60,000 that we need
So,
there?
I know when
40.
It's 40, they're off 40. They reduced it by 40. So I think the 20 is still in there.
Yes.
20's in, yeah.
Yeah, so we don't need to replace with 60, we need to replace 40.
To bring it to the total.
To bring it to.
So we just paid for the women's vote.
Those of you that would like to,
Need a new.
so far we don't have a majority to take any off, but those of you that would like to keep the 40,000 for Outright Vermont on the list to consider, can I have a hand up, please? 1, 2, 3, 4. To go on that one. The next one is moving the AG position somewhere between from 7% toward 4%. The full move is 140. Anything in between would be increments. If you-
158 is their ask.
I thought you told me 140.
No, 158 is,
Oh, I knew that was the ask, and then you said it went to 140. I'm sorry, Diane, that
Oh.
probably brought it down 1%, right? So
you know, yeah, I don't
Okay,
know what, we-
158 to lessen the vacancy savings in the AG's office from 7% toward 4%. If you want to lessen the percentage of his vacancy savings, starting at 158 and moving down, please raise your hand.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that did not meet the priority list, so I'm going to
Okay.
remove that one. And the next one is 24,000 for the State Board of Education. If you would, for the national membership that was not continued, if you would like to keep that on the list, please raise your hand. 4, 5. I have 6 there. A week 6, but I have it, Dave.
Week 6.
You saw,
Is IDA. You don't have to explain IDAs. If you want to keep IDAs on the table, raise your hand.
How much is it?
Oh, I'm sorry, 173. IDAs is 173. Okay, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that made the cut. The next one is micro businesses for 193. 193.
293.
What did I don't know why. I
293.
293. Raise your hand. Okay, we have a majority there to keep on the table.
Jesus.
The next one is the grant writer at 75 to move to 100. So in that range, if you want to consider the grant writer for VHCB, raise your hand.
Are we doing it for 75 or 100, Kitty?
Well,
Or-
it's in here for 100, but we would at least consider 75, moving it to 100 if possible. That's
Okay.
made the cut for 100. Justice reinvestment is not taking the money from corrections and dropping it all into the general fund. It's using 325 and reinvesting in programs to prevent recidivism. And so I'm just calling it justice reinvestment. It's to take the money that would have dropped to the general fund and reinvest in programs within DOC. That's 325. Would you raise your hand if you want to reinvest those dollars in DOC?
I think it was 360, Kitty.
I have 325, but
I'll double check.
1, 2, 3, 4. Keep your hands up as you're going too fast for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got plenty there. Clinicians, Mary, will there be money associated with the mental health clinicians?
What?
I'm sorry, excuse
That's
me.
in the budget.
The mental health clinicians are in the budget
They're
already.
in the
That's in the
budget.
budget.
Yeah.
How much are they in the budget for, Mary?
Well, it's actually Maida's budget. I'll let her answer.
It's 75,000 times 7
Okay,
total.
thank you. So that's going to be a policy committee, and we're not asking for money there. The next two have to do with childcare, and there were 2 pieces within childcare. If we don't do the move that the administration is asking to bring the administration of the childcare back from community partners to the agency, if we choose to leave it as status quo where they are, it's $613,000 in the budget. And we're not going to take a vote on this because I think we have to have the recommendation from the policy committee. And then there were other grants that went out to childcare, the SAG grants that Dave spoken to before that are 300,000.
Excuse me, Kitty,
Yes.
the SAG grants are in. They're in the budget.
Oh, well, thank you.
thanks, Kim.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Took
So
that one off.
Oh, good.
we have to first learn if what the Committee of Jurisdiction is going to talk about, how the child care program, where the administration should stay. So I just want to leave that one out there. That's a a change that may or may not happen. And that's going to be based on what we feel the policy needs to be. And the last one was 50,000 for the Vermont Center for Rural Studies. If you want to keep that on the list, please raise your hand now. 4, 5. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to break that tie and keep it on the list for consideration since it's close. And that's
How
where we're
much was it?
50,000,
Yeah.
50. So, Maria, do you have that on a sheet for us now somewhere?
I mean, I could put it together on a sheet.
Okay.
Yes, I could do that. I don't have it. I just need to clean it up a little bit, but I could put it together for you tonight.
Okay, and over the weekend, I worked with Maria and Steve on trying to figure out the Vermont State Colleges and how in different ways to you know, fund them. And I think that we're, you know, we're going to have to look at a proposal that I think is getting some finishing touches on it. And I want to, I want to bring it to the committee as an option to consider. But I don't want to bring anything to the table that's not going to work. So I'm going to hold off before I put anything on the table, because if it's not going to work, I don't want to put it out there. So I may have something for us to look at tomorrow. And I think that's it, unless somebody can tell me a major piece. Are we missing a major piece? And we need to stop because it's getting close to 5.
Just to get the number for the out-of-state bed savings that wants to be reinvested, it is $360,140. 360,140.
Okay, thank you, Mary. I don't know where I got 325 from.
Oh, I probably said it.
No, I wrote it down, but I'm not going to look now. Okay, and so tomorrow morning, we are going to pick up on our agenda at some point. I haven't seen the agenda. We are going to, Chip, there's some draft language that Chip's working on that we worked from the governor's language to address the stimulus equity that Susanna Davis was here earlier today. Chip had was given a task to run a lot of our questions by her to see, you know, what would work and how we can get as many people satisfied and comfortable and trusting of Vermont state government. And tomorrow we also need to reconsider the fiscal note and decide what we want to do for a funding amount. And so be thinking about that. And Chip is also looking with me at some possible funding sources if we want to go above the governor's $2 million. So 2 million is in the budget, and any additional we would be responsible for identifying. So we're going to have that discussion tomorrow, and those of you that are in and out, as much as you can get back to us to, we're really close. We're really close. And also, we need to narrow as we determine what we have for dollars left. You know, we need to narrow what our top priorities are. So you all have that list of kind of money pieces that are open within budgets. And I think that's about it. I think that's enough for a day. That's a lot of work. You did a lot of work today. Thank you. Really appreciate it. I really appreciate it when we get to the floor.
Early Friday.
What? I missed
said,
it.
hoping to get out early Friday. Yeah. I know I'm a dreamer. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
That'll be the day they're announcing the new federal stimulus package, Dave, you know? And don't forget the infrastructure bill. We have the infrastructure bill coming
Right.
from Washington too.
Yeah.
And we also have to, you know, to weigh in on what committees of jurisdiction decide CRF money. There's 198 still there. So we still have a good bit of work to do, but I think that if we keep our noses to the grindstone, we're going to be in good shape. Start looking over that list of money and put your priority list. If there's one thing that you want to fund, and there's nothing of any, you know, it ranges from 100,000 to, you know, micro businesses, I think was the highest, or no, Mary.
How long does that take?
Investment.
Well, the children's eligibility piece is gonna be, that's a 613.
Yeah, but that's going to depend on policy. That's not going to depend on money. That's going to depend on the policy that we feel is right for the program. Okay, I'm going to stop rambling. Thank you all so much.
Oh, well,
Prioritize. If we
can
have,
I throw, it's more of a question because like I got some information back on the adult days and the Meals on Wheels are both CRF asks that Dale is pursuing through JFC. So that's, I just putting that out there. I don't want to forget about it, but I don't know how that might work or not work. So just.
I think that those are not going to be considered emergencies, and we didn't do any others with the administration and felt that they needed to go through the committee process. But
So I don't know whether that'll happen, but that doesn't have to happen in this bill if it's gonna go, if it's happening on a pace that's different. Does that make sense?
Right, but I don't think JFC feels that while the legislature's in session, that they should be making those decisions, that it should go through the committee process unless it's imminent and it's an emergency and has to move really fast.
So will they be still in session doing this? It might not have to happen by Friday, but you know, let's just say it's October 15th. Are they still going to be coming to JFC for requests?
That's the language that I said that JFO is helping me work on that would
Okay.
allow decisions to be
Yeah,
made
good.
based on priorities of the House and Senate.
Right, because they won't know until then.
Right, right. Okay, I think we can go off live, Teresa.